Alright, and here's how I do a self-portrait. So I start off with a light gray background as opposed to a white background. Because we're working on gray, it's easier on the eyes, and plus you can also work both light and dark as opposed to white, which is just darker. So, how I start off with is I basically get a line drawing in, which I'm using not exactly a pure black, but a very dark gray. That it's about 20 on the B slider on my HSB sliders. Which is my favorite way to work because that's a little bit more convenient for me. So basically on this line drawing part, it's basically just getting things to fit right. And that's all it is. And I'll usually spend about like 10-20 minutes at least on this. Just making sure like the basic lines and values are what I want them to be. Just getting the hair to sit right, the features to sit right. I think I know right now it looks a little hollow. You'll see me do this throughout the early part, just keep expanding the canvas. Because starting off, I'm not really quite sure what direction I want to go into it, but it develops later. And that's one of the great things about painting, is just how things develop. And so, then I'm adding in my shirt and kind of tinker around with the hair shape just so my head looks a little bit better. Not too squished. Trying to figure out how the hair curls, how the folds of the shirt work. This thing with like folds and shirts, don't want them to be too complex. I mean, you can actually get away going pretty simply with them. I think at this part I'm actually going into like deeper values. As you can see, I'm using filling in with like darker grays. So I'm basically getting my basic real value pattern there. Filling in some shadows, filling in some darker grays. Filling in just how I want everything to work together. And I keep doing this for a little while until I get that to sit right. I mean, it's really just a lot of back and forth with this. There I am, just trying to figure out how the hair curls, because truly hair is one of the most complex things you could do with hair. Because there's so many intricate things inside there. There's so many complexities, and it's an interesting challenge. I mean, that's one of the great things about it. It's just the whole challenge factor. I mean, it would be kind of boring if it was all just easy. So right here I'm adding in my lightest value, which you can say made a little palette dot on the side. Even then, it's not a pure white. And it's actually probably about 85-90 on the B slider. And that's why I'm adding in like sort of like little bits of white to the eyes where there's like reflected specular light. And then like my hair highlights, because that's probably part of me that's hitting the most light. And I'm really just trying to figure out how the folds sit, adding my darkest value, which I'm about to just add a little dot there to pick from. And this is really just making sure my value drawing sits right and before I go on to color. That's what this all is, just figuring out the whole forms of the thing. Yeah, it's a really good idea to make sure all your values and things are right before going into color. So that way you have a pretty clear direction of how you want to go. Because with color, you can basically use whatever color scheme you really feel like as long as the values are right. And that's why I spend so much time on the values. There I am clipping the image again. Just kind of clip it so it fits on one screen, because I'm anal like that. But it's also another thing, you don't want to really work too zoomed in for most of the painting. You want to work zoomed out so you can see the whole thing, just so how it sits together. I mean, if you go zoomed in and go to town on the details, eventually you're kind of wasting time, because when you see things just don't sit right with each other, it kind of looks bad. Now, here I am adding color. And I usually go in first with an overlay layer to kind of get my base tones in. Like my base hair color, my base highlight, my base skin tone, my base shirt color. But I go a little bit more in depth with those colors later on with like a couple other overlay layers. I'm also trying to fix the background up. because that flat gray just didn't exactly look good to me. So I'm darkening up the side of the background that's not with the part that's in pure light, and here I am adding a little more variation in the skin tone, which is really important, because if you have just like one flat color for the skin tone that just changes in value, that it defies rules of color, because there's an important sort of rule with color that it's a good guideline to go with, good rule of thumb for a good image, is that if you have warm lights, go with cool darks, and cool lights go with warm darks, and the contrast that really plays well. That's just one of the rules of color theory. So you see what I did there, the image just went lighter. I had like a couple screen layers and filled them with pretty dark colors, so it gets, but not quite black, because if it's quite black, it really wouldn't do anything. But if you have a dark color, lighten it up just enough that you don't really have really dark hair like I just had there, which that's why my hair just looked really dark and didn't exactly sit well. So it allows you to go lighter and re-establish darks after that. Now this is the part where I actually get to real details in the image, but even then I'm still working far out. I'm really just trying to figure out, exploring the forms of everything. Just this, once it gets to this point, it's basically refining. I mean, we've got like all your basic colors in and all your basic forms in, so it looks pretty good. All it is just refine until it looks better. And so yeah, I'm flipping the image around quite a bit there, as I have been doing. Flipping is a very good thing to do. I cannot stress this enough. I mean, flipping images allows you to have like a completely new view on your image, and when you flip an image, it allows you to see like everywhere you've gone wrong, and you can just fix all that when you flip it. You'll probably create new errors and you flip it back, and you just fix those. It's just a matter of fix until it looks good. It's really all you really need for an image is for it to look good.